everybody, it's Linda Schulte, the broker owner of Schulte Realty here in the Central Florida area. And today we're going to be talking about getting organized and being prepared. And I know some people are going to wonder, what does that have to do with real estate? You're going to find out after this segment. So I'm super excited to have with me today Heather Doney with a company called Life in a Box. So Heather, tell us about your company. How did you get started in something like this?
Well, how I got started was we sent our daughter to college out of state. I started the company in 2018 when she was going to be moving away. And what I realized was that adulting was going to probably be a little bit more difficult. We had done a lot of things for our kids up to that point. So I created a little binder with all of her instructions, a copy of her health insurance card, how to contact her own doctor's office, how to make her own appointments, go to the oil change place, when to know, kind of how to call the bank if she lost her wallet, that kind of stuff. I created an instruction book, I guess, like an adulting instruction book that we always all wish we had for our kids. And so that sort of got that ball rolling to where it is today.
Great. I know it's super important. We've talked about this many times over the years. So there's a book that you have. So it's kind of, some people are like, what do you mean a book? So what is this book and what's inside of it? What do you put in this book?
Okay, well, what is actually inside the book, it does vary a little bit depending on the need, but I do have a specific 8-category book that I help people kind of go down, and I create a brainstorm list for everyone to be able to follow, because when you think about going through your documents, you get overwhelmed. A lot of us have a lot of paper piles, or we have a digital paper pile that's like out of sight, out of mind. And in order to get to those, we have to dig them out, right? So that other people will know where they're at. So the first thing is an emergency section. And that is who would be your contact list right away. So something were to happen that was very important, you would be able to go right to that, kind of like a phone tree, I guess you could say. Yep, and then after that is your home information. Who would you call if something happened to your home? Or like in my personal one, I have my land survey. If we want to put up a fence, I just know where it is and I can just pull it out of this box. I don't have to go digitally and look for the thing from our closing papers, that kind of thing. And then I just put them all in the categories in here, and then I'll go down with each family or individual, and we just start kind of pulling from each of those categories, whether it's insurance, funeral planning, medical information, health information, and I also made a place for pets, because who's going to get the dog, right? Who wants to take the dog to the vet, and where do they go, right?
So there's a couple of situations where I've had personal experience with Heather and with this book. So one was my own personal situation. So I'm like, you know what? I need to have my stuff in order. So I called in Heather. She started going through the book, and I think I've got everything all under control here. And she starts flipping through it, and the first thing she says, "Where's your life insurance policy? You have one?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got that." And then she says, "Who are your beneficiaries?" And I went, everybody who's my beneficiary has been passed away. So and she's like, "Okay, we need to fill in the gap." So part of not only going through this with each segment is she's helping you look to see what are you missing, what are your gaps. So what other things are in there besides your life insurance policy? I know there's other things, I know there's passwords and so forth.
Yeah, I try to make sure that everybody has a copy of even their mortgage statement or even their bank account information, or if they have a trust, that's going to be super important. If something happens and you have an emergency, whether it's catastrophic or even small, if you have an elderly parent living at home alone, and you have to go over there to get something like their DNR form. If you don't have it at the hospital already, you're going to need to have that. Do you have your power of attorney signed? And like you, Linda, just reviewing your documents every once in a while, we need to make sure that they're kept up, because life does change. You may have a new baby, you may get a divorce or move households, or have your, like you, beneficiaries that have passed away, and now you've got to look onto a niece or a nephew maybe, or Your kids are now past the age of 18, and now you have a whole new set of things you need because they also then need their documents. They have to have power of attorney, healthcare surrogate, things like that. So I really just guide people through the process so that it's not as overwhelming. The last thing you want to do is go on a treasure hunt after you have something happen that is catastrophic for yourself.
Right. I mean, something as, I'm going to say, as simple as a hurricane comes through. You want to be able to have a spot where you just go and grab everything, and it's all in one spot where you just pick it up and run if you have to run out the house. Hopefully we never have to do that in Florida. One of the other things, too, that I found very beneficial about what you do is you are talking about power of attorney. What happens to your house? And by the way, this is not just for people who are elderly. This is actually for young people. As she made it for her daughter, who was just 18 at the time. But there's walking through the steps. It's talking about, do you need a ladybird deed, or do you need a trust? While you're not an attorney, I believe you. What do you do when you bring these questions up to somebody? Where do you lead them to if they start asking questions like that, legal questions?
When they start asking legal questions, Linda, I usually then ask them questions. Who do you already know that's a lawyer? Who do you already know that's an estate attorney? Does your family have connections to a CPA? Because that's also then important. Your taxes affect your trust and how things go through. So I really just guide them back to the people that they know and trust, because my number one job is to organize them so that they are prepared for some sort of emergency scenario. And also, like I said before, to prevent that treasure hunt. And then if you go back a little bit, I know I mentioned the elderly, but young couples, like when they're first buying a house, gathering papers that they've never heard of before is sort of a challenge. They don't know what it means. They don't know what they're looking for. And so once they come together, let's just say newlyweds, they come together, they buy a home. They probably both come from a separate set of how they looked at documents as, their parents. So it helps to have someone in the middle that can kind of guide them on how to then commingle all of their things. And then it brings up things like, oh, you don't have life insurance? Do I need it? We're so young. Should we have it? So really that's just kind of where it goes from there.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, there's so many, you have 8 sections in there. I'm just trying to, I know one of them is also the insurance, where it's not only home insurance, but also medical insurance. So it's home insurance, life insurance, things like that. So those are so important to be able to have. And it's great that I know that you look at all these things and like, oh, geez, I don't have a life insurance policy. And you're like, well, do you need one? Who do you need to talk to? You are able to lead people to have. It's really, I would say, you're opening up people's minds to think about what are the possibilities. Because I have to tell you, we don't want to ever think about what could happen. So as I said, this is called the Get Organized and Be Prepared. And I will tell you, I'm going to go into this a little bit further, because obviously this relates to not only my own personal situation, but also it's important for how this affects people who own a home or are planning to buy a home, kind of a thing. So if you don't mind, hang out for a little while. We're going to take a short break and you'll hang out with us. So we're going to take a short break, guys, and we'll be back in a few minutes, so stay tuned, okay?